U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
About a fifth of America's total petrochemical production is concentrated on a stretch of land along the Mississippi River in southeastern Louisiana. Those facilities provide many of the essentials of modern life: plastics, fertilizer, and even medical equipment. But that production also comes with serious risks. The area has also long been known as Cancer Alley because of the high rates of cancer among people who live near those plants. As William Brangham reports, a new study now documents how those risks may fall on the next generation as well.
All right.
Not long ago, Tisha couldn't imagine making memories like this with her son, Cairo.
You sharing with mommy?
He was born prematurely, almost 2 months early. Weighing just 4 pounds, he had to live in this incubator, had a slow heart rate, and sometimes stopped breathing entirely.
My first time seeing him after birth, I was holding him and he looked so peaceful. And I was like, oh my God, he's so peaceful. And I took a picture and seconds later, his alarms went off. He had stopped breathing and of course, just me being new to the experience, it was very overwhelming.
There we go.
Tisha, who asked me not use her last name for privacy reasons, has lived in Louisiana's St. John the Baptist Parish most of her life. The community sits within an 85-mile stretch of land that's home to some 200 fossil fuel and petrochemical operations.
Growing up, we knew nothing about how those things were affecting us. You know, you just had asthma, you just had eczema, you just had all of these other different issues. Your grandmother had cancer. A lot of people, women I know with fertility issues, a lot of women I know trying to get pregnant and can't, or experiencing a lot of miscarriages or early births. And we just thought that that was normal life.
Last month, researchers at Tulane University found that in Louisiana's most polluted areas, pregnant women had a 25% higher risk of low birth weights and a 36% higher risk of premature births. Prematurity is the leading cause of death among infants in the U.S. Black and low-income women in those areas face the highest risks.
It's a wake-up call in terms of how we think about the consequences of industrial pollution, and what you emit today affects the health of somebody who's going to be born in 6 months or 9 months, right? It's not decades from now.
Kimberly Terrell is a staff scientist at Tulane's Environmental Law Clinic and was lead author of the study.
What was really surprising was the proportion of adverse birth outcomes that could be attributed to pollution exposure in Louisiana. So our study suggests that a third of the cases of low birth weight and about half the cases of preterm birth in the state can be linked to pollution exposure.
The Mississippi River is full of petrochemical plants as well as grain elevators because they are truly the gateway to the world.
Louisiana Republican State Senator Eddie Lambert chairs the Environmental Quality Committee, which oversees the agency that regulates the chemical industry. I'm sure your committee has seen a number of studies that have linked living in these areas to disproportionately high negative health outcomes. You don't accept that as a
I don't
premise.
accept that as a complete truism. I mean, you know, there may be some correlations. I mean, I'm going to tell you, let's start looking, you know, vaccines. You know, we've had an explosion of vaccines in the last, 20, 30 years. Now you have autism. Is there a connection there?
Oh my God.
A lot of people who think they are.
There's a lot of people who think there are, but there's no good evidence that they are connected.
And that may be the same thing with some of the situations with the chemical plants.
There's no fucking way he's doing this.
Circumstantial evidence that's there. You know what? Let's really dig down and see what is the what is that?
Thank you for smoking. There are other reasons women in these areas.
That's insane.
May be experiencing poor birth outcomes.
Is it, economically depressed? Their health? What kind of prenatal care are they doing? I mean, there's all kind of factors.
But Terrell argues,
I wonder how much money is being paid by this company,
and they aren't exclusive.
They are compounding. It doesn't make sense to say, we're just going to ignore pollution and focus on, poverty or healthcare access. If we know pollution is a risk factor, and we absolutely know that pollution is linked to low birth weight and preterm birth across the board, why aren't we addressing that?
You think on balance right now, you guys are hitting that correct balance of economic development versus protecting people's health.
We could probably be doing a little bit better on both. I would like to see no pollution. That's a perfect scenario. Now, how much of a negative impact there is, I don't know. But I know they also bring a lot of things to us that we could not exist without.
Yeah, did you know that the tisms in Australia is caused by vaccines in America? Crazy, right?
Would it not be for the chemical industry, the fertilizer, you could not support the world's population.
A recent report from Human Rights Watch found that for decades, the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, or LDEQ, has repeatedly failed to
LDEQ.
enforce the minimum standards set by the federal government and to protect the environment and human health. And Terrell says that agency still hasn't acknowledged the racial disparities in who gets exposed to pollution. From 2019 to 2021, the department allowed industrial emissions of pollution that were 7 to 21 times higher in mostly
Incredible.
Black communities compared to mostly white ones. In an email to the NewsHour, the department declined to comment.
I think the key is that the DEQ needs
Sus.
to take an unbiased approach to environmental justice analysis in its permitting decisions. And what that means is when a facility wants to build a new plant in a community of color, DEQ needs to say, okay, what's the existing burden of pollution here? And is this community overburdened?
2 years ago, the Environmental Protection Agency opened up a civil rights investigation looking at whether state regulators here in Louisiana were allowing oil and gas and petrochemical companies to build and pollute in a way that disproportionately harms Black communities. In response, Louisiana's then Attorney General and now Governor Jeff Landry sued the EPA, and the agency dropped the investigation. The EPA declined to comment, citing pending litigation.
We're going to focus on mitigation with climate change.
In Ascension Parish, another community with concentrated petrochemical plants, Ashley Gaignard is counting on a younger generation to enact change. She founded the organization Rural Roots Louisiana to teach kids about environmental issues.
That creates another generation of awareness. It preserves our land. It sustains what we have. Because if we don't start preserving it, the industry is going to buy out every piece of clean property that they can.
True.
All three of Gaignard's children were born premature and with low birth weights. She says at the time, she didn't connect her baby's poor health with the air she breathed when she was pregnant.
My son born with an undeveloped lung, and he's had really horrible asthma all his life. And to have a kid get told he can't take recess anymore. When you learn you got formaldehyde in the air,
They're banning our
methamphetamine in
gas
the air,
stove.
and benzene in the air, and all of those chemicals have effects on your respiratory system, you get angry.
Back in St. John the Baptist Parish, Tisha says even now she worries about how the air could be harming her son. If you could, would you move far away from here? Is that something you thought about?
It's something that I thought about, but I love here. I don't want to be anywhere else. I want to be home, and I want my baby to know home and love home the way that I do. So what do you do when you need to be home and home is
What a great shot. Really?
home the way that I do? So what do you do when
Oh,
you
at
need
the
to
end,
be home?
showing the chemicals next to
What
the
a
playground.
fantastic shot.
Mm-hmm.
What a great final shot. Like, really.
Yeah.
Just perfect.
Also,
Disgusting.
CBS is also not 24/7. You know,
Mm.
it's like they do they do the news hour. It's 1 hour that
Yeah.
they have to produce.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Home. And home
and they
is
still produce better
unfortunately where-
content than SNL, which also just
Yeah.
has to do an hour a week. They do an hour every day, and I think they just do a weekend update thing.
Mm.
I think it might
Yeah.
just be Saturday, and they don't do Sunday. I'm not sure though.
A Newport Beach man shot and wounded a home invasion suspect early this morning. One of two suspects who broke into the house located in an upscale gated community. KTLA's Rachel Menitoff reports the victims and suspects knew each
Rachel
other.
Man on top. It's like Xena on the
Hi,
top.
good evening. This is a pretty secure
Manitoff,
community. It's
okay.
gated and there's a 24/7 guard on duty. So for people who live here, this came as a real surprise. The one thing police did want to stress today is there's no threat to the community. The intruders actually knew their victims and where they lived.
This was a home invasion robbery that happened here just off of Newport Beach Coast Drive.
Sky 5 over this upscale Newport Beach neighborhood, the scene of what officials are calling a targeted early morning home invasion. Two intruders apparently broke in from a side door in this gated community near Newport Coast Drive and Pelican Hill Road around 4:45 a.m. And according to police, the assailants knew exactly who lived here.
We know that there is a relationship between the two suspects, and the victims, the residents.
And what's that relationship based on?
That I cannot comment on at this time.
The homeowner ended up shooting one of the intruders, who police found injured, laying in the street with a handgun. They found a second person nearby in the bushes. That man was found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Nice.
Today, the city's mayor doubled down on the consequences for violent crime.
If you are coming into our city
You
to
know
commit
why?
crime, expect that there is going to be resistance,
Think about this,
and
right?
that is
No, why?
Because of how felony murder rule, I doubt this is actually why he killed himself, but like because of how felony murder rule is, thinking that his homie just died, no, he knows that he would basically get charged as if he killed him.
Murder, yeah.
Yeah, when it was supposed to be like a breaking and entering, you know, which is like not a serious crime.
Fair enough. I stand on this ground that felony murder is like the best law in America.
Well, I mean, it also depends on awareness, right? If people are
Yeah.
aware of it
True.
before they do a situation with felony murder.
Because pretty much any time you do a B&E and you've got someone like as a getaway driver and you get shot and die, that getaway driver's getting pinned murder.
So
like, you better think twice, buddy. Like, don't go doing that
the
shit.
whole like reason, just being like, I'm gonna kill myself after a bad breaking and entering is very strange, though. You know,
It is. So it does raise a few questions.
just
And
like
we'll
how I
probably
want
have
to know the motivation behind that guy that was being like who shot out with the police. Is he just
Yes,
a
that
regular
we couldn't
guy? Like,
find.
what was going
Yeah.
on there?
Exactly what we saw this morning.
It's unclear how the two suspects made their way into this normally secure community. All lanes of Newport Coast Drive were closed for several hours, leading some residents to believe the intruders hopped a surrounding fence.
I asked the security gate and I said, "Do you
This is
have
a
any cars
helter
come in at the
skelter
time
thing
between
that
4
was
and
just
5?" And they're like, "No,
prevented.
there's definitely no."
Huh?
It's this second helter skelter murder that was just prevented. You know, there was the next Manson family going into that residence.
So they have the gate, and he's like, "Yeah, most likely they came through the gate."
The fact that police say the suspects and victims knew one another makes sense to nearby resident Adam Fowler.
It's a lot of gates, a lot of, invite only type stuff. So, you have to at least have an idea of where you're going and certainly need to know it's not a place where you can just walk in and knock on somebody's front door.
And there were 4 people inside the house during the home invasion, including a juvenile. They were all evacuated safely. As for the suspect who was shot by the homeowner, he was taken to hospital. We don't know what kind of condition he's in right now. In Newport Beach, I'm Rachel Menitoff, KTLA 5 News.
Thanks.
Elephant walking down the road. Oh my god. Oh my
Free him.
god.
Free him.
King.
Only in Butte. A circus elephant got
Let him roam. Let him roam. Go. Go, man. Go. He's like, fuck it, I'm free.
Where are you going, friend?
I shall become a woolly
And he's
mammoth.
Elephant walking down the road.
Amazing.
You know, it's not every day that the circus attractions make their way out from under the big tents. For a Montana town, though, the show was on the move as an elephant got loose and wandered the streets. This photo shows the big girl eating grass behind a business. The
That's
manager
so
said
funny.
when the circus was happening says the elephant was getting ready for a show when it got spooked by a vehicle.
It looks like that guy was like following it the whole time too.
Yeah.
And with it the whole time, the guy in the black shirt.
Yeah.
It's not like you can like rope and like capture an elephant, you know?
No, you just kind of got to wait for him.
You have to limit your liability by making sure your elephant doesn't kill somebody.
He was as
Yeah.
tall as that house.
He is a she.
She.
She. Viola.
Oh,
Don't
okay,
be
excuse
rude.
me.
Here's her
But
vagina.
you know what she was saying? She was saying, if you're not going to come see me at the circus, I'm going to bring the circus
I'm
to
gonna
you.
come see you. I wonder if that
Oh
happens.
my
Circus
god.
sales.
How cringe
So-
could you be?
That's
They're
local
abused by the
news. That's more
circus,
people to the
dude.
circus. We need
How
to
cringe
Yeah.
could you
investigate
be?
before- Pull the numbers. How much did the circus make?
Local news shit. They can't just be like, yeah, well, fuck the circus. This elephant should be free. Free the elephant. It's the local news. They would
Yeah,
get like one call
I
and
bet
they
those
get fired.
windmills will keep them cool. That's what this is,
But
right?
the Karens would get mad if you said anything slightly
Windmills
controversial
do not work
on
that
news.
way. Good night.
The first night. How
We
much did they
did.
make the night after Viola got out?
Poor Viola. She just wanted to have a little fun.
Poor Viola. I think she had a good time. I think she's all right. She
She
got
enjoyed
some
that grass.
fresh grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff they're serving at the circus was probably old.
Exactly.
Well, that's all the time we have this morning. Thanks for watching.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?